to my video series about the heroine's journey. I'm Susanna Liller, and it's time to find your happiness. This particular video and the ones following, I recorded with 3 heroines, real life heroines, the same ones that are in my book, You Are a Heroine, a retelling of the hero's journey. I mean, what's better than being able to interview 3 heroines and have their stories in your book? What's better? Having them actually help tell their stories in this video series, where they really make my book come alive. So I'm so grateful to them, and you're going to be meeting them, Pamela, Maureen, and Lisa, and they will tell their stories, their heroines' journeys. One of them, remember that we go on many in our lifetimes, and they all recounted one that was a particularly informative learning lesson journey for them in many ways, that in every case required a big leap out of their comfort zone, out of their ordinary life. The journey always starts in ordinary life, in your comfort zone. It's where we start talking about the first milestone. And it's in your, what you would call your village, where you hang out. And that's where we are now, in the village. So you'll hear in this video that I introduce what the heroine's journey is. I lead you through the milestones. I show you a map. And the map is a different one than the one that's on my website, but it's got all the same milestones on it. And the one in my book, and if you want to follow along in the book, you will find the map right here on page 9. And we'll be leading you through these milestones. And here, oops, you see the ordinary life milestone. And also, I'll talk to you a little bit about what is a heroine, but she is someone who listens, hears, and follows her call. And she's also someone who's interested in personal development, in finding out what she needs to know about herself to develop herself to her full potential. And so the journey, going on the journey, answering that call, is always about gaining back pieces of yourself that maybe you unwittingly gave away because of what somebody else wanted you to do. So here we are at the beginning, and I'll come and talk to you before each one of these. There are 8 videos, and I'm so excited you're going to be doing this with me. So I will see you in the video, and then at the beginning of the second one when we talk about the second milestone. Okay, enjoy.
I was having a great year on the U.S. team, and in my ordinary life, I was living my dreams.
I felt like I had been raised as a lie.
I had a really, really defined identity as a classical violinist.
Answering that call and leaping was leaving the church and getting a divorce.
The more quote-unquote successful I got, the more depleted I felt.
One of my dragons was feeling so judged by everyone for making these moves.
I could not get out of bed.
I really felt that so strongly from my mother, that it was her judgment that just I felt was soul crushing.
I really have to do something differently now.
When we started to climb the first mountain pass, my vision started to blur really bad. By the time we reached the top of the mountain, I felt my wheels sliding out from underneath me, and I crashed.
I ended up enrolling in 2 programs I had no idea about, but I just said yes to them.
Emily, my mother, could barely be in the same room with me.
This workshop placed me in the center of about 30 people who were sort of improvising with this blues and jazz rhythm, and I thought, well, this is great. I'll just hide behind the facilitator and watch.
And I had this epiphany where I realized how judgmental I was being of her.
The facilitator said, "You play the wrong note." and my right arm wouldn't move.
I'd ridden my bicycle off one road to begin a journey on a new road.
The call was that frozen moment and the realization that there's something on the other side of this.
12 years into my diagnosis, where I was able to compete in triathlons, and then went, wow, could I possibly race my bicycle again?
One summer I went home to visit, and I went there with nothing but openness and love. When I did that, I got everything I had been wanting.
Today, I'll be interviewing 3 heroines, Lisa Chu, Maureen Manley, and Pamela McCreary. They generously, very generously, let me share their stories in my book, You Are a Heroine, a retelling of the hero's journey, and they even more generously agreed to come together, even though they live in very separate places in this country, to tell their stories together, to help me share with you what the heroine's journey is and why you're a heroine and why you're on it. So welcome to the 3 of you. Thank you for being here. I want to just say quickly how I met the 3 of you. Maureen and also Lisa, the 2 of them I met through Gail Larson, who is the amazing teacher now in Santa Fe, who does the program Real Speaking, Transformational Speaking. I met Pamela at my son's wedding. We kind of really immediately hit it off and realized we were sort of the same ilk. I feel very fortunate that our paths, our heroines' journeys crossed. So let me say a few words now before we get into their stories and helping you understand the milestones. What is the heroine's journey? It's a mythic story. It's ancient. It really, you might know it better if I called it the hero's journey. It takes a person who starts off sort of as an ordinary person, doesn't realize their capabilities, and shows through this a certain path and going through milestones how that person becomes fully developed, realized, aware, empowered. And it's a story plot that has been in stories since before writing. Beowulf, which was written in 1500 BC, was told as an oral story, is a hero's journey story, as was the story of Odysseus in the Odyssey, and all the way up to today. I can tell you Game of Thrones is a major hero's journey, heroine's journey story. Now, I call it the heroine's journey because I mostly work with women. And I also found what I wanted to explain and give examples of what's the heroine's journey, that so many of the stories had a male figure going through these milestones. And I wanted women to be able to relate, to recognize that they too have these milestones, that they are living the journey just like the storybook characters, just like the people in movies. It wasn't somebody on a pinnacle somewhere, it was actually their story too. So I have focused it on women. I call it the heroine's journey. And I also feel that women take the journey differently than men do. Men tend to go at that when they meet the dragon, which is some difficult part in their life. They can be slaying the dragon, where women more so try to understand and figure out that dragon and get to know the dragon, which I talk about embracing the dragon. So that's why it's the heroine's journey. And I think what remains is just for me to say that the milestones that are indicated, you start with something called ordinary life. So it's your comfort zone, where you begin. And you go on many heroine's journeys in your life. And you can be going on some simultaneously. You can be on one in your career and at the same time one in your personal life. But all of them, you're starting in a comfort zone where you've been hanging out for a while, and then you hear a call. And it can be an internal, this doesn't feel right, or I want to do something else, or it can be an external, somebody comes along and offers you some kind of opportunity. But that's the call, and we call it the call to adventure. And a heroine listens for that and hears it, and then follows that call, leaves her comfort zone. We call it crossing over the threshold, and sometimes that's a big leap. It can be really something that's a big change in your life, or it can be something not so big. And then they're on the road of adventure, and good things can happen or bad things can happen. It's a new experience for them, something they haven't been on before or haven't experienced before. And they'll meet threshold guardians, which are that's the critic inside your head telling you you're not good enough, you can't do it, you're not smart enough, you need more credentials, everybody will laugh at you. And then there are people, even real people in your life, that are telling you maybe something similar. The heroine keeps going. She also meets mentors, people who help her and encourage her and support her. But things kind of throw her upside down. Her world is turning around. Things are different. She's learning new things. That's the belly of the whale. You're kind of shaken up so you can be reborn into your next iteration of development, who you are. And then there are dragons, and dragons are usually those hard things that come up, that surface for us to look at. And they're usually things, maybe in our childhood, our parents used to tell us, you'll never be able to be something, and you have to face that. And is that a real belief? So as you go on, you're really gaining back parts of yourself that maybe you've lost or haven't paid attention to, until finally you come out on the other side. And there are gifts that you gain from every journey. That can be confidence, higher self-esteem, wisdom, whatever it is. The heroine then returns to her village, and right now we're in it. This is our village where we share what we've learned in our experience with others. So luckily we have a virtual village, and luckily these women are happy to share what they've learned and where they've been. So are you ready to tell the story?
Oh, yeah.
All right.